Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, back in July, we brought you an exclusive report by the former Labour leader and MP Ed Miliband, who was calling for rent-to-own retail chains, basically selling high-interest, hire purchase deals, to be regulated like payday loan companies. Well, today a Citizens Advice report is calling for exactly that, and the Financial Conduct Authority, which regulates the industry, has announced it will be looking into high-cost credit. 400,000 people used rent-to-own retailers last year, which is an increase of 131% since 2008. In Ed Miliband's film, he met cousins Andrea and Angela.
So nobody went through your finances and said, is it affordable, can you afford it?
No, not with me. They just said basically that I could, because they just asked me what money I got. They didn't go through what I have to pay out, like bills situation, and obviously children are out like that. And then they just says, right, you can have such and such, you can have, now I can have anything I want at the shop. Angela, and they were phoning me up as well, Angela, if you introduce somebody, we could give this, or we'd take some off your bill, £50 off your bill. So obviously you think, yeah, nice one, get my bill down a little bit, because it's high, it's just constantly high, and it's a case of, because it's there, and for people that haven't just got the money to just go and do it, they think, well, at least I can have the nice stuff still.
That's right.
Just a little bit more expensive, and it's there.
So you introduced your cousin, and what happened?
She was desperate for a dryer.
And what happened to her?
Well, she's ended up skinning herself. She's ended up doing without gas and electric.
And what's your advice to people who might be thinking?
Walk on by. That's what I'd say. In fact, I sing it outside if I see anybody going in there. No, I won't even go in it. Because I just...
When I walk in, I'm literally a minute. They'll say, do
Now
you want a
wait,
receipt? I'll say, no, I'm going. And I just give them my money, give my name and my address, and I go. Before anyone comes and badgers me to see if I want out.
Well, that was Andrea and Angela, but not everyone thinks rent-to-own companies are a bad idea, and in fact they think they can help people get items that they may not otherwise be able to afford. Here's what Kate Andrews from the Institute of Economic Affairs told Ed Miliband when he spoke to her earlier in the year.
It's an injustice to tell people at the bottom that because they're poor, they can't have things that in 2016 we would consider necessities.
Some of these companies are making very big profits at the expense of my constituents. How's that fair?
They're making huge profits because they're taking on a lot of risk. We see this with credit card companies as well. They're making marginal profits because they're loaning out to people with average credit scores. But these rent-to-own companies are often taking on people with no credit score. They don't always know if they're going to get their payments, so they're taking on a lot of risk there. They're getting these profits because they have to ensure down the line that they're going to get some kind of return. But in the meantime, people who wouldn't have these goods are getting them to their homes next day delivery.
Well, let's talk to Danielle Hackman, who has extensively used rent-to-own retailers, and also Citizens Advice Chief Economist Hugh Stickland. Thank you both for coming in. Danielle, tell us first of all how much you have bought through rent-to-own.
I've probably bought about 15 items, in equivalent to about £5,000–6,000.
And what items?
Mattresses, TVs, fridge freezers, cookers, ovens. Washing machine, tumble dryers.
So give us a specific example of one of those items and how much it would have cost you if you'd have been able to buy it up front, but how much it cost you with all the credit.
I worked out a TV that would have been £799 was £1,650.
And how does that make you feel?
Pretty awful. Out of money.
Would you have been able to buy it any other way though?
Not at the time, no.
Okay, so Hugh, you think that the rent-to-own companies should be regulated in the same way as payday lenders. What are your particular concerns?
Well, the figures there are quite terrifying in some respects, and my heart goes out to Danielle in terms of the money that she now owns. And this is why we've seen, since the regulation and the cap on payday lending has come in, the problems that we deal with at Citizens Advice have halved. And we think it's time that the FCA, the regulator, of these companies should extend that cap and also look at regulating these rent-to-own companies in a similar way.
So how would the cap be set? I mean, we heard Danielle's particular example there of a TV that would have cost £799 ending up costing double that with the credit.
Yeah, so the rent-to-own cap would be that no one can pay back more than double the amount that the item...
More than double, so double is okay?
Oh, well, ideally, we'd like to see that go lower. The current payday cap is at double the amount. In any case, this is a lot of money for people who don't always have that much money to pay back. What's more, it's not just about the cap, it's about regulations as well. Realistically, there should be better credit checks that these companies do on their customers to assure that they can reasonably afford to pay back the debt that they're taking out on these products.
And have any payday loan companies gone out of business as a result of those changes? Is there less availability of credit for people like Danielle?
Some companies have actually withdrawn from the market, yes, right. Indeed. Now, we're not saying...
Does that mean then that people cannot get items that they would have previously been able to get?
We're not saying that Danielle shouldn't get the cooker and the fridge freezer. These are life's essentials. Danielle absolutely deserves to have them. What we're saying is that Danielle should not be exploited by these firms. Absolutely she needs a fridge freezer to keep her food cold, but she shouldn't therefore have to pay hundreds if not thousands of pounds worth in debt repayments to these companies.
Do you feel like you have been exploited?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if I knew what I do now back then I wouldn't have done it. I would have got the money another way.
Because when you sign up and the weekly payments look okay and quite small,
they add up.
Yeah. I mean, did you know what you were getting yourself into when you signed up initially?
No.
So is that important to you, that it's made absolutely crystal clear? Because Danielle says, you know, at the end, when you see what you paid, you can think, well, I wouldn't have done it. But at the beginning, if you're not clear, you don't know what you're getting into.
Indeed, we did a survey of around 2,000 people, and very few of them actually have that clarity about how much they would be paying up front. And some of these companies also put on what appears to be compulsory insurance, warranty, aftercare products as well, and you can actually end up paying interest on those products too. Lots of customers don't realise that they're optional. They feel that they were obliged to take them out, and therefore it's added to the loan.
And did you ever get into difficulty with repaying, Danielle? And what happened then? How did the companies treat you then?
One of the companies used to do a massive charge. It was £5 per item per week, and they capped the charge. So instead of doing the charge, it would be a call out every day. They'd knock on your door, 7-8 calls a day to try and get you to pay them.
That must have been stressful. Yeah. 7 or 8 times you were having a knock on your door?
Yeah, knocks on the door several times a day, calls all day long. Until either I gave the items back or paid the bill.
What pressure did that put you under?
Oh, a lot of pressure. It got to the point where I didn't answer the door. So, yeah, it was very stressful.
And that sort of thing, Hugh, I mean, you're shaking your head.
Absolutely. I mean, that is horrific practice. This is what the Financial Conduct Authority need to be looking at. We need to have people treated fairly, you know, it can't be right that people knock on the door at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and phone people up who are worried and invulnerable and facing debts that are spiralling. So that's why we're asking. It's not just about a cap on the cost of credit. It's about ensuring that there are decent rules, affordability checks, treating customers fairly when they do fall into arrears, giving them repayment windows and holidays so they don't feel the pressure as Danielle did.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the house and those knocks are coming and you're thinking, I just can't afford this.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It was awful because obviously I've got young children that were like, Mummy, someone's at the door. So it was obviously worrying, sort of not being able to answer the door and explain my situation, or they'd arranged to take the goods.
Alexandra on Facebook says, back in the late 90s, early thousands, when I was in my early 20s and with a new family and home to finish furnishing, but with little money coming in, I turned to a buy-to-own company for a TV video player and hi-fi system. It came to about £600 outright, or at monthly payments totalled £1,500 or more. For the first few months to a year, we struggled to pay on time, but did. Then the first time we defaulted, we were slapped with a charge, which then bumped up our weekly repayments, which meant that we then couldn't cover the full payments, which in turn meant more charges. After nearly 2 years of playing catch-up, I sat down and worked out how much I'd actually paid. It had totalled nearly £3,000, but still had payments of more than £500 left to pay, plus they'd sent debt collectors to my home. Simon on Facebook, about time I've supported people with mild learning disabilities who've paid a fortune for loans and goods. They just don't understand the interest rates. They should have the actual amount you pay back in big print so people understand. Trevor on Facebook, what is the difference between rent to buy and hire purchase? Is this just another excuse to charge outrageous rates of interest? Do you think it's going to change, Hugh?
Well, we very much hope it will change. Indeed, this morning the regulator, the industry regulator, have issued a paper and a statement saying that they're looking at the payday cap and looking at how that could be applied to other high-cost sectors as well, such as the rent-to-own sector. Indeed, they could go further. They could look at guarantor loans and logbook loans, loans that are secured against your car. There are other examples, not just payday, where customers unfortunately are treated unfairly and suffer huge detriment.
Thank you both very much, and thank you for your comments on that. And we've got a statement from a spokesperson for one company, but obviously this is looking at the entire range of companies. It's Bright House. It says, we dispute the findings of this misleading, deeply flawed and inaccurate report. Having worked closely with the FCA, Bright House's affordability checks are some of the most thorough in the financial services industry. Should Bright House customers be in difficulty, we have a wide range of options, including the flexibility for them to return the product at any time without owing anything further. This helps them to avoid a spiral of debt, unlike other forms of lending. And finally, they say our pricing policy is completely transparent, and contrary to the report's assertion, all agreements are subject to a 14-day cooling-off period. It is both disappointing and damaging that Citizens Advice have chosen to issue such a poorly researched report.
I've been getting away with it all.